I would hold that no, there's no market for a foreign investor in residential in Spain unless you want to develop. So this is I think one thing that's particular in Spain, that you've got a property quota of probably 70%. That means you have 70% of the population being homeowners. There's a very weak rental market, and then the rents compared to investment are very low. So at best it would give you a 4.5% gross initial yield, which is simply too weak. And then you need to consider whether you really want to do residential development, which is always a very local market, and you're going to be up against some local old boys networks that are sharing exchanging licenses and stuff between them. I would not really want to enter. I think obviously we've discussed a lot the office market, and I think the office market has huge potential. We've seen the story of yields, and we've seen the story of rents. I was asked before how I actually see the rents in relation to the macroeconomics and whether that is not going to be a long-term thing. And I said yes, and I think this is good news, because while all the wind was taken out of the yields by now, I think something that really gives us some projection in the next 3 to 5 years is rental growth, and that rental growth will depend on absorption. Absorption is expansion of corporates, and corporates actually will react to macroeconomic recovery. So I think this is a good story and something that's going to get us over the next 5 years, and where you have the rental growth potential. Obviously retail, I mentioned the consumption before, so retail is interesting on all ends. High street retail is extremely sexy, extremely pricey. Wherever you go, I was lucky enough to buy at 6.2% on the Calle Serrano in Madrid, which probably was the highest yield ever paid on Serrano, but that was a very interested vendor at the moment, and that was end of 2013. Otherwise, high street retail is very expensive, and you need to know where to go and where to look, and you will always find competition. Shopping centers, we've always also seen, have been traded a lot. There was a huge volume in the last year. Spain had seen a huge boom in the early 2000s of shopping center developments. Actually, partially it had been completely overshopped, I think. But there's good trophy assets that you could probably find, and that very much needs looking into the rental agreements. And I think if you find that there's a reversionary potential in there, you can do a good deal. And one sector I find very interesting is logistics. Because what goes for all the stock in Spain basically is that it has been neglected. There wasn't any development, and there wasn't any capex actually to look after them. And knowing that logistic assets basically have a fairly short-term lifespan, in 10 years they can easily become obsolete, especially if you don't invest in the capex. And since the last 10 years nothing has happened, there's a huge necessity and a huge demand also for that recovering economy to actually have logistic centers. And then there's new trends, like you have cross-docking now, which is completely new, which hasn't been built in Spain before. So this is a segment where I think you should look at, put your money, and it also is usually, if it's new projects, it's short term, so it gives you a return fairly quickly.